Good evening. Let the proceedings begin. The Magistrates Court named Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran and Perpetual Treasuries duo Aloysius and Palisena as suspects in the bond scam. Another commission. President Maithripala Sirisena appoints a commission of inquiry to probe malpractices at the national carrier Sri Lankan. The relevant gazette to be issued this evening. No colonial practices. The government categorically refutes the existence of a so-called Welcome Committee of British royals. And in international headlines, out of exile, a Maldivian court throws out a terrorism conviction against former Maldivian President Mohamed Nasheed.
I can contest and I will contest and we will hopefully win it again.
And in sports, time to plunder. Sri Lanka capitalized on a dead pitch and average bowling in the first test in Chittagong. Once again, a very good evening. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7 and I'm Mahesh Johnny. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to take you through all the latest stories from Sri Lanka and from around the world, especially a full report on the upcoming election. But first, in our lead story tonight, Colombo Fort Magistrates Court today named former Governor of the Central Bank Arjuna Mahendran and former Director of Perpetual Treasuries Limited Arjun Aloysius and former CEO of Perpetual Treasuries Limited Kasun Palisena as suspects in the investigation of the controversial central bank bond issuance. The magistrate also ordered former Governor of Central Bank Arjuna Mahendran to appear before the CID and give a statement in connection to the investigation before the 15th of February.
The Criminal Investigations Department today filed its first B report in court over the investigation into the controversial issuance of treasury bonds and cited former Governor of the Central Bank Arjuna Mahendran, former Chairman of Perpetual Treasuries Arjun Aloysius and former CEO of Perpetual Treasuries Kasun Palisena as suspects. Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General, presented the report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry appointed to investigate central bank bond issuance to the court and produce facts at length. Fort Magistrate Lankajaya Ratna also issued notices through Interpol to former Governor of Central Bank Arjuna Mahendran to appear before the CID and give a statement in connection to the investigation before the 15th of February. She ordered the Department of Immigration to immediately inform the CID if Kasun Palisena and Arjuna Aloysius attempt to go abroad or if Arjuna Mahendran arrives in the country. Fort Magistrate Lankajaya Ratna ordered Perpetual Treasuries Limited to hand over all documentation related to the bond transaction and hand over a complete document of its assets earned through the bond transaction from 27th of February 2015 to March 2016. The magistrate also issued an interim order preventing movable and immovable properties of Perpetual Treasuries Limited from being transferred to a third party. In the meantime, last evening, the Colombo High Court extended the freeze on all bank accounts of the 24 companies under the Perpetual Treasuries Group. The freeze was put in place upon an order of the Director of the Financial Investigation Unit of the Central Bank last week, following an application made by the Attorney General on behalf of the Criminal Investigation Department. Issuing a communique, the President's Media Division says that the extension will initially be valid for 30 days and is renewable.
Well, the Colombo High Court today quashed the petition filed by former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa seeking the discharge of him and 7 others from charges in the Avantgarde case. The petition was quashed by Colombo High Court Judge Sampath Vijayaratne.
Bribery Commission filed a case against 8 defendants including Gotabaya Rajapaksa, accusing them of incurring a loss of 11 billion rupees to the government by allowing Avantgarde Maritime Services Private Limited to maintain a floating armoury. Attorneys representing the former Defence Secretary filed a revised petition with the High Court seeking a court order clearing them of the said charges. The petition claimed that the Director General of the Bribery Commission failed to obtain written permission from the Commission before filing the case and that therefore it was unlawful. However, Colombo High Court Judge Sampath Vijayaratne pointed out that clear legal provisions have not been set, making it mandatory for the DG to seek the approval of the Bribery Commission. In the meantime, the Court of Appeal today issued notices to Minister Rishad Badiuddin, former Minister Basil Rajapaksa, Central Environmental Authority and the Wildlife Conservation Department to submit explanations on clearing the Vilpattu Reservation and erecting unauthorized constructions. They are to appear before court on the 5th of March. The petitioners pointed out that the unauthorized constructions have caused severe damage to the environment and it is an unlawful act.
Let's get to now the latest on the election. The Election Commission convened a meeting of party leaders, representatives and the police this evening to discuss arrangements ahead of the local authorities election. The discussion centered on issues faced by political parties and security arrangements during the counting of votes.
A 2.5-hour briefing with political party leaders and representatives presided by the chairman of Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, was held at the Commission premises today. Following the meeting, politicians said a main ballot counting centre will be set up at each ward, unlike in the previous local authorities election. Meanwhile, media spokesperson SP Ruwan Gunasekara said as election propaganda activities cease on the 8th and 9th of this month, police will exercise security measures. Furthermore, at least 2 police officers will be deployed at election centres on the day of election and the Police Special Task Force will assist in conducting patrols. Meanwhile, speaking at a media briefing earlier today, Chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, said that a special election complaint hotline has been launched. The public will be able to send complaints via text message by typing EC space, EV space, followed by the complaint and SMS to 1919.
President Maithripala Sirisena reveals that he appointed a presidential commission of inquiry to investigate fraud committed within the national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines and Mihin Lanka. Addressing an election propaganda rally of the SLFP today, the head of state said the relevant gazette will be published later this evening.
Sri Lanka Freedom Party organised a campaign rally in Hettipola in Kurunagala today under the patronage of the party chairman President Maithripala Sirisena.
When some talk about the importance of investments, today scientists warn about the danger of the port city. A world-renowned Sri Lankan engineer, Professor Karunaratne, says that Colombo is in danger of sinking. We should pay attention to this danger. This is very logical. When Ranil Wickremesinghe suggested appointing Arjuna Mahendran as central bank governor, I opposed it because of the citizenship issue. But he disregarded what I said. I couldn't create issues within a week of establishing the government. But my opinion wasn't accepted. Again, after the general election, when the cabinet was being appointed, I asked Ranil Wickremesinghe not to appoint Ravi Karunanayake as the finance minister. That was not considered either. I arrived today after starting another mission. I signed the gazette for the Presidential Commission to inquire Sri Lankan Airlines and Mihin Lanka. It will be gazetted tonight. Those who know will know as to who will be caught by that commission. I named members to the commission and it will begin work next week. I will fulfill my responsibility for you and the country. I will only leave my position after punishing the thieves.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says the second phase of the Hambantota port will be developed through $600 million of Chinese funding, thereby improving the economy of the country. The Premier made this comment addressing a UNP election propaganda rally in Ratnapura this evening.
The United National Party organised a rally in Ratnapura today ahead of local authorities election. It was presided over by party leader Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
When we questioned as to why the port was built in Hambantota, they said that the ships passing by will call for refuelling purposes. The port was maintained for 2 years without ships. How did they do that? They utilised profits of the Colombo port to settle the interest payment. Had they continued to do so for another 2 years, we would have completely lost the Colombo port as well. When I met with representatives of the Chinese government, I spoke the truth and explained that we were facing many difficulties in maintaining the port. I told them that I do not have money to repay after 2017 and that they will have to take it back in pieces. That is when they realized the destruction caused by the Rajapaksa regime. Later, they requested us to allow them to work on the second phase of the project, to which we agreed. They said that they will invest $600 million within the next 2 years. That is how we were able to transform a white elephant project into a green elephant.
More on the election, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa pledges to bring back Arjuna Mahendran from Singapore if no one is capable of doing so. The former president spoke on bringing those culpable in the central bank bond scam to book while addressing a public rally held in Mathura today.
Yet another public rally of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was held at the Sanat Jayasuriya grounds in Mathura under the patronage of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
I gave a promise to make Mathura one of the most prominent cities in the country. We allocated 8 billion rupees to modify this city and give all the facilities. But unfortunately, they stopped this plan on the 9th of January in 2015 and sent money back to the treasury. Everyone knows who Arjuna Mahendran is. Who let him go? It's the one who appointed him that let him go. How can we get him back now? Even if he is the culprit, will he come? If no one can bring him here, we will do that. Remember that. Some people continuously go to Singapore now. They go with empty hands but return with full bags.
Politburo member of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, K.D. Lal Kanta, says systems implemented by successive governments has brought Sri Lanka among the most corrupt countries in the world. He made the comment while speaking at a public gathering worked off in Boralaskamu yesterday.
The JVP organised a public gathering themed Energy Against Corruption in Boralasgamu yesterday with the participation of various JVP politicians.
Politics, corrupt state officials and contractors drew most of the money when developing urban councils and Pradesh Sabhas. They're the ones who won and not the voters of the UNP or SLFP. Something similar happened in the central bank with corrupt politics, Arjuna Mahendran, the corrupt state official, and Arjuna Aloysius, the corrupt businessman. When such a system is implemented at ground level and when it reaches provincial and national levels, the country will inevitably be destroyed. We assume that JVP will win this election. The intelligence officers who attend these meetings compile reports and hand them over to the government. According to these reports, the JVP will win over 500 rural wards.
In other local stories we have for you tonight, the past 24 hours yielded several traffic-related accidents resulting in tragic consequences. 4 people in total lost their lives, leaving 3 more injured in several areas of the country.
2 youths were killed and 3 were injured when a 3-wheeler collided with a tipper truck in the area of Valigama in Mathura last night. Police said that the 5 individuals who were travelling in the 3-wheeler at the time of the accident were aged between 16 to 17 years. Other Derana correspondents stated that 2 out of the 3 persons injured are in critical condition. Meanwhile, a person died in Vadua while attempting to get down from a SLTB bus travelling from Mathura to Colombo. A bus knocked down a woman, killing her in the area of Gonamadinna in Peliandala. The deceased is a 69-year-old mother of 2. The driver of the bus is taken into custody by the police.
Well, let's take a short commercial break. We'll be right back with more local stories.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Ada Derana 24/7.
Welcome back everyone. With Independence Day just days away, social media exploded with comments and shares of a supposed set of guidelines to be followed when welcoming the British royals, the Earl and Countess of Essex, who are expected to attend this year's Independence Day celebration. The letter, which looked convincing enough, prompted a response from the Foreign Ministry and the British High Commission of Sri Lanka, saying it is in fact not genuine.
This document dated 30th February 2018 by a so-called Welcome Committee of British Royals and signed by its Secretary DFP Dimel made its rounds on social media this week. The Royal Etiquette Ordinance listed out 18 guidelines when greeting the royal duo. Some of the absurd guidelines mentioned were to not make direct eye contact with the royal couple, refrain from bringing small children should they cry, and for women to kneel in the presence of the duo as a manner of greeting. The final guideline, however, stated to not forget that they were the last blue blood family in Sri Lanka and therefore it is a must to follow the rules. Social media went into a frenzy following the post. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and British High Commission in Colombo, however, confirmed that the document currently being circulated is not genuine, adding that no such committee has been constituted by either the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the British High Commission. Meanwhile, taking to Twitter, Deputy Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs, Dr. Harsha De Silva calls for investigation and says that the fake document is a sorry attempt to discredit Sri Lanka's government.
Move on to business news now. Global financier Allianz announced that it has entered into an agreement with Janashakti Insurance to acquire 100% of its subsidiary Janashakti General Insurance Limited for a consideration of 16.4 billion rupees. The transaction is subjected to regulatory approval and is expected to complete in the first quarter of 2018. This acquisition makes Allianz Insurance Lanka one of the country's largest general insurers with a market share of approximately 20%. This transaction also represents one of the largest investments into Sri Lanka, demonstrating Allianz's confidence in this market. Well, the launch of a Figi online visa center owned by the Alibaba Group was held in Beijing, China recently. The program aims to expedite the process of applying visas for Chinese tourists to countries like Sri Lanka, which have been designated as electronic visa countries. According to a communique issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the online visa center uses internet innovation to enhance the goodwill of visa processing and the convenience of user operation, as well as to make the visa application process efficient through technology. Vice President of Figi, Zhu Zheng, said that Chinese people's tendency to go to the Belt and Road countries has been significantly enhanced in the past 3 years, and the Belt and Road countries have become more attractive to young consumers. Ambassadors of Belt and Road countries and entrepreneurs from China participated in this event. In international business stories, British Prime Minister Theresa May is looking forward to a brighter future for trading and cooperation between China and the United Kingdom, as well as joint efforts with deal with global challenges. During an interview with China's Central Television yesterday in Beijing, the visiting Prime Minister said that there would be more links between the two countries in trade and economy, along with education, technology and international affairs.
British Premier May recognises China as one of its most important global partners, as the UK has been looking to improve its relationships abroad, with Brexit also on the horizon.
Leaving the European Union gives the United Kingdom the opportunity to forge and create its own trade relationships around the world. And China will be one of the countries we will be looking to do that with. And as part of my visit, we've launched a joint trade and investment review, which is a first step in that. We've been talking about ensuring that there are more British products and services available to Chinese consumers. And of course, we welcome Chinese investment in the United Kingdom. But we want to see see Chinese companies, Chinese investing in the United Kingdom. We see significant investment being announced as a result of this visit. We've also seen a number of deals, a number of arrangements being signed, which actually mean that UK expertise and UK involvement will be supporting businesses here and development here in China. But we also need to ensure that as we trade around the world, we're doing so on the basis of a set of trade rules, and that operations around the world are based on this rules-based international system.
The Colombo Bourse concluded today's trading on a positive note, with the ASPI improving 22.01 to end trading at 6,520.46, while the S&P SL20 gained 8.78 to close at 3,751.95. Daily market turnover reached 1.2 billion rupees. Foreign investors ended as net buyers of 4 million rupees worth of shares. And now we have Christina Aponso from NDB Securities with a review of stock market performances for the concluded trading week.
During the week, ASPI gained 1%, mainly due to price gains in counters such as Janashakti Insurance, Carson Cumberbatch and Nestle Lanka. Meanwhile, S&P SL20 edged up by 0.1% for the week. The average daily turnover for the week was up from last week to 847 million rupees. Banks, finance and insurance sector recorded the highest sector turnover during the week, whilst the second highest was seen in the diversified sector. A net foreign inflow of nearly 259 million rupees was recorded for the week. This resulted in the year-to-date net foreign inflow to increase to 4.3 billion rupees. Out of the weekly turnover, block trades accounted for 26%, which was a lower proportion than last week.
Latest on sports, Sri Lanka dominated day 3 of the first test against Bangladesh, with the match most likely heading towards a draw. That said, with the pitch offering very little to the bowlers, gave Sri Lankan batsmen the chance to pile on runs and gain form. At stumps, Sri Lanka was 504 runs for the loss of 3 wickets.
Sri Lanka started day 3 on 187 for the loss of 1 wicket, with Kusal Mendis on 83 and Dhananjay De Silva on 104. Both batsmen were largely untroubled in face of ineffective bowling by Bangladeshis and continued on their merry way. De Silva and Mendis both went past the 150 mark before De Silva fell for 173 following a partnership of 308 runs.
Let this one go. Lytton Das takes it. And finally the partnership.
Mendis hitting a double 100 was a given until he fell for just 4 runs short of the milestone, with the scoreboard reading 425 for 3.
Oh, that's gone up in the air. This should be taken.
Roshan Silva, playing in only his second test, played a hand innings of 87 to remain unbeaten, with captain Dinesh Chandimal at the other end on 37. Sri Lanka ended the day on 504 runs for the loss of 3 wickets, 9 runs behind the hosts' first innings total.
Also in sports, the Earl of Wessex, Prince Edward, who is currently in Sri Lanka to attend the country's 70th Independence Day celebration, laid the foundation stone for a new indoor tennis stadium at the Sri Lanka Tennis Association in Colombo. Minister of Sports Dayasri Jayasekara and several other dignitaries also graced the event.
The Earl and the Countess of Wessex arrived in the island to attend the 70th Independence Day celebration of the country. The royal couple, who visited the Sri Lanka Tennis Association, was warmly welcomed by the Minister of Sports and several other officials. The foundation stone for the indoor tennis stadium was laid by Prince Edward. The royal couple also had candid dialogue with the country's athletes.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
In international news, a court in the Maldives threw out a terrorism conviction against the island nation's former president Mohamed Nasheed and ordered the release of several other jailed politicians. The court ruling frees Nasheed from all charges and enables him to return to the country from his self-imposed exile in Britain, with the former president vowing to contest in the next presidential election later this year.
Mohamed Nasheed lost a controversial election runoff against current president of Maldives Abdullah Yameen in 2013. The country's unrest began in 2015 when Nasheed, the country's first democratically elected leader, was jailed on terrorism charges relating to the arrest of a judge during his tenure. The trial, declared unfair by the UN, prompted widespread protests and resulted in the arrest of hundreds of dissidents. Since then, almost all key opposition leaders have either been jailed or gone into exile. In 2016, Nasheed also sought political asylum in the United Kingdom after travelling there on medical leave from prison. The Supreme Court ruling yesterday came after an opposition alliance petitioned the top court to temporarily remove President Abdullah Yameen for misrule, rights abuses and unprecedented corruption. Judges did not rule on the request, but instead ordered the release of a total of 9 people they said were jailed in unfair trials. Reacting to the developments in Mali yesterday, Nasheed said he welcomed the Supreme Court's decision and urged Yameen to abide by this ruling and resign.
The Parliament should now immediately meet. The Supreme Court has ruled that the 12 MPs have not lost their seats, and therefore the Parliament must meet, and the Parliament must go on with their business of legislating change. Parliament has submitted a petition to impeach the Speaker of the House, and that was done last year. This is when everything started going wrong for President Yameen. Now we must be able to go ahead with that petition. The Parliament must be able to sit and then deliberate upon the petition. We will hopefully come up with a new Speaker of the House, and we will then investigate other institutions and also move towards a free and fair election. This is election year in the Maldives. I can contest, and I will contest, and we will hopefully win it again.
Let's take a look at some other stories making news across the world.
United Nations Special Rapporteur on Myanmar Yang Lee says the reports of mass graves in Rakhine State have the hallmark of a genocide.
It is amounting to crimes against humanity. I would think that these are part of the hallmarks of a genocide.
The eldest son of late Cuban revolutionary leader Fidel Castro Diaz-Balart, committed suicide yesterday at age of 68 after being treated for months for depression. The nuclear scientist, also known as Fidelito or Little Fidel because of how much he looked like his father, had initially been hospitalized and then continued treatment as an outpatient. Previously, from 1980 to 1992, he was head of Cuba's national nuclear program and spearheaded the development of a nuclear plant on the Caribbean's largest island until his father fired him.
Hello!
A killer whale called Wilkie has been taught by a team of scientists to mimic human speech. The researchers were studying an orca's ability to imitate sounds at the Marineland Aquarium in Antibes, France. The study says only a small number of species can mimic human speech, and it is strikingly rare among mammals.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Well, Shanila is at the Other Derana Weather Center for your forecast first evening edition.
Good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Your temperatures for tomorrow are to vary between 18 and 30 degrees Celsius, with the lowest temperatures expected in the Central Hills. Well, looking at the map, a low pressure zone will form from the southern region and will gradually move towards the north of the island. Well, the sun will be very welcoming in many areas including Jaffna, Mana, Vaunia, Trincomalee and Anuradhapura. But it will be an opposite scenario in Galle, Mathura, Kandy and Hambantota as well as Negombo, as they can expect some showers and thunder showers. That's all we have from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
Well, on your good story of the week, every couple wants a wedding day to remember. And so bride Elizabeth Shoesmith wanted to bring the meaning of her love to her life by signing the lyrics of a song for her deaf husband, Scott.
The couple from Sydney tied the knot in an intimate wedding ceremony last month in front of 45 guests. As she stood at the opposite end of the aisle, the 41-year-old woman started signing the words to the love song 1000 Years by Christina Perry. Standing at the altar, the groom was brought to tears as his beautiful bride surprised him with a touching gesture. Mrs. Shoesmith said, quote, "He has never heard the words to a song before, so I wanted to translate this for him," unquote.
That's First at 9 for this Friday, the 2nd of February 2018. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Make sure you join us. I'm Mahesh Johnny. Enjoy the weekend. Good night.